Gaia, mother of all gods and monsters. Imagine a goddess so powerful that she created the sky from her own body. A goddess who rose up against her husband and orchestrated his overthrow. A goddess who gave birth to titans, Cyclopes, giants, and the most terrifying monster in history. A creature that made the Olympian gods flee in panic and transform into animals. She is older than Zeus, older than all the Olympians. She is the earth itself, come alive and conscious. Her name is Gaia, and today we will tell you the story of a goddess whom even gods feared. Welcome to the Ancient Myths channel. Today we're diving into the deepest depths of Greek mythology, to the place where the cosmos itself was born. In our modern world, we're used to thinking of Earth as a silent sphere spinning in space. But for the ancient Greeks, Earth was a living being, a powerful goddess named Gaia. Her story is recorded in the Theogony, a poem by the ancient Greek poet Hesiod, created approximately in the 8th to 7th centuries BCE. This isn't just a myth about an earth goddess. This is an epic saga of maternal love and fury, of betrayal and vengeance, of how the ordered world emerged from primordial chaos. Gaia was the second entity to appear in the universe. She created the sky, mountains, and sea. She gave birth to the Titans, the first rulers of the cosmos. She raised a rebellion against her tyrant husband, and when her children suffered, she spawned monsters for revenge. Her story is the story of creation itself. Let's discover who this great and terrifying goddess truly was. Part 1. Birth and Primordial Power. To understand Gaia, we must return to the very beginning, to the moment when nothing existed except chaos. Chaos in Greek mythology isn't simply disorder. It's a gaping void, an abyss, primordial nothingness. And from this nothingness emerged Gaia, the broad-breasted earth, the eternal foundation for all that exists. She wasn't born. She wasn't created. She simply appeared, materialized from the void as the first solid, real substance in the universe. Think about this. Gaia isn't just a goddess who rules over Earth. She is the earth. Every mountain, every valley, every stone, this is her body. When the ancient Greeks walked upon the earth, they were literally walking on the goddess's body. When the earth shook, they believed that Gaia was turning in her sleep or shuddering with pain. But Gaia wasn't merely earth. She was the embodiment of fertility and motherhood. From her body grew plants, constituents to flowers. In her depths hid precious metals and stones. The ancient Greeks called her the All-Mother, the primordial mother of all living things. And this isn't an exaggeration, because literally everything that appeared after her came from her. Gaia's first act of creation was the birth of Uranus, the starry sky. Listen to these ancient words from the Theogony. Gaia gave birth to her equal, the starry sky, Uranus, so that he would cover her on all sides and be the eternal dwelling for the blessed gods. She created him from herself, without any partner. She simply willed it, and the sky came into being. Picture this scene: infinite earthly firmament below and boundless starry sky above. Gaia and Uranus, earth and sky, two primordial principles comprising the entire cosmos. This isn't merely a poetic metaphor. For the ancient Greeks, this was a literal explanation of the world's structure. Then Gaia spawned Pontus, the barren depths of the sea and the mountains. All of this she created herself, without union with anyone. She was a self-sufficient creative force. But very soon she entered into marriage with Uranus, her firstborn, and that's when the real story began. You see, Uranus wasn't simply Gaia's husband. He literally lay upon her, covering her completely as the dome of sky covers the earth. Their union was constant, unbreakable. And from this union were born beings who would change the universe forever. But there was something else that made Gaia special. The Greeks believed she possessed ancient wisdom, knowledge of past, present, and future. It was Gaia who owned the first oracle at Delphi, the sacred place where people came to learn the will of the gods. Much later, this oracle passed to Apollo, but originally it belonged to the ancient earth goddess. Oaths sworn in Gaia's name were considered the most sacred and inviolable. Even the gods, when making their most solemn promises, swore by Gaia, because the earth is eternal. The earth doesn't deceive. The earth witnessed everything that happened from the moment of her birth. Thus, Gaia became the foundation of creation, not only physical, but spiritual. She was the ground beneath feet, the nurturer of living beings, and the keeper of sacred oaths. But ahead of her lay trials that would transform a loving mother into a furious avenger. Part 2. Gaia's Children, Creation of the World. From the union of Gaia and Uranus were born beings of unprecedented might, and these beings became the architects of the world we know from Greek mythology. First appeared the 12 Titans, 6 sons and 6 daughters. Their names thundered through the ages: Oceanus, lord of the world stream encircling the earth; Chaos and Creus, embodiments of cosmic forces; Hyperion, father of the sun, moon, and dawn; Iapetus, progenitor of humanity; and the youngest of all, Cronus, who was destined to change the fate of the universe. Among the daughters were Rhea, future mother of the Olympian gods; Themis, goddess of justice; Mnemosyne, goddess of memory, and others. The Titans were enormous, powerful, and beautiful. They weren't monsters. They were divine beings embodying fundamental forces of nature. It was the Titans who would establish the first order in the cosmos, become the first rulers of the world. But they were only part of Gaia and Uranus's offspring, because then were born 3 completely different beings, the Cyclopes. Their names were Brontes, meaning thunder; Steropes, lightning; and Arges, brightness. Each of them had only one eye in the middle of their forehead, but possessed incredible strength and skill. It was the Cyclopes who would later forge for Zeus his famous thunderbolts with which he would strike down enemies. But even this wasn't everything. Last to emerge from Gaia's womb were 300-handed giants, the Hecatoncheires, Cottus, Briareus, and Gyges. Just imagine these beings. Each had 50 heads and 100 arms. They were the embodiment of primordial, untamed natural force. When they entered battle, they could hurl 100 stones simultaneously, one from each arm. It would seem that Gaia should have rejoiced in her children. She created Titans who would rule the world, she bore Cyclopes, whose craftsmanship knew no equal. She brought forth the Hecatoncheires, whose might was boundless. But instead of joy, Gaia knew suffering because Uranus hated his children. Why? The sources don't give us a precise answer. Perhaps he feared their power. Perhaps he was horrified by their appearance, especially the Cyclopes and hundred-handed ones. Or maybe he simply didn't want to share power over the cosmos with anyone. Whatever the reason, Uranus committed a monstrous deed. As soon as his children were born, he would take them and thrust them back into Gaia's womb. He didn't kill them. No, immortal gods cannot be killed. But he hid them in the deepest depths of earth, in the darkness of Tartarus, which lay in the deepest parts of Gaia's body. Imagine mighty titans, one-eyed Cyclopes, hundred-armed Hecatoncheires, all of them imprisoned in their own mother's body, shackled in eternal darkness. For Gaia, this was unbearable. She suffered from the weight, from pain, from grief. Her children groaned in her womb, and she heard their every groan. The ancient Greeks believed this explained earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. This was Gaia writhing in pain while her imprisoned children tried to break free. But Gaia wasn't merely a suffering victim. She was a primordial force, the most ancient of goddesses. And in her heart, vengeance was brewing. She couldn't directly oppose Uranus. After all, he covered her completely as the sky covers the earth. But she could devise a plan, a cunning, horrible plan that would forever change the cosmic order. And for this plan, she needed an ally, the youngest, most cunning of the Titans, Cronus. Part 3. Rebellion against Uranus and birth of new forces. Gaia could endure no longer. Her body was bursting with imprisoned children, her heart torn by their suffering. And then she turned to her Titan children with a plea for help. "My children, born of a mad father," she said, "if you will obey me, we shall punish your father for his evil deeds, for it was he who first began to commit shameful acts." But the Titans remained silent. They feared Uranus, their father and lord of the sky, all except one. Cronus, the youngest and most cunning, answered his mother's call. "Mother," he said, "I promise to accomplish this deed. I care nothing for our father who bears an evil name, for it was he who first began to commit shameful acts." Then Gaia, rejoicing, began preparations. From her depths, she extracted gray adamant, metal harder than steel, indestructible and eternal, and she forged from it a sickle with a serrated blade. This sickle she gave to Cronus and hid him in ambush. Night fell. Uranus, as usual, descended from the heavenly heights to lie with Gaia. He spread himself over her, covering her completely, desiring amorous embraces. He didn't suspect the conspiracy, didn't know that his youngest son lurked in darkness with an adamantine sickle in his hands. And when Uranus drew close to Gaia, Cronus leaped from ambush. His left hand seized his father, and his right, the one gripping the sickle, swept upward, and with one swift motion castrated Uranus. Blood flowed, and not ordinary blood, but divine ichor, the liquid flowing in immortals' veins. Drops of this blood fell upon the earth, absorbed into Gaia's body, and from them new beings were born. From Uranus's blood that fell upon the earth appeared three groups of beings. First arose the Enraged, goddesses of vengeance with hair of serpents and eyes full of fury. There were three of them: Alecto, Tisiphone, and Megara. They would become pursuers of criminals, punishers of violations of sacred laws. Their birth was symbolic. They appeared from blood spilled by a son who rose against his father, and their task became to punish precisely such crimes. Then were born the giants, enormous warriors with impenetrable skin and superhuman strength. Some sources describe them as titans with dragon legs instead of normal ones. They were born of violence and blood, and violence would become their fate. It was the giants who would later rise against the Olympian gods in the great Gigantomachy. Third appeared the Mutimelian nymphs, spirits of ash trees. From their wood spears would subsequently be made. Even these peaceful nymphs carried within them echoes of the violence from which they were born. But that's not all. Remember the severed genitals of Uranus? Cronus hurled them over his shoulder into the sea. They fell into the waves, and around them white foam began to boil. This foam expanded, taking shape, gaining flesh, and from it emerged a goddess of dazzling beauty, Aphrodite, goddess of love. Think about the irony. From an act of violence and revenge was born the goddess of love and desire. From severed flesh emerged embodied beauty. Greek myths are full of such contrasts, reminding us that in the world, everything is interconnected. Pain and joy, death and birth, violence and love. Uranus, wounded and humiliated, retreated to the heavenly heights. He never again descended to Gaia. Forever remained the distance between sky and earth, between father and mother. But before withdrawing, Uranus pronounced a curse. He called his children Tians, from the word titaino, meaning to stretch or to strike at. He accused them of striking at what was sacred, and prophesied that retribution would overtake them. This prophecy would come true. Cronus, who overthrew his father, would himself be overthrown by his own son, Zeus. History would repeat itself as cycles of nature repeat, as generations of gods succeed one another. But for now, Cronus and the Titans ruled the world. From Gaia's depths were freed the remaining Titans, Cyclopes and Hecatoncheires. A new order was established. It seemed Gaia could finally find peace, but there would be no peace because Gaia's pain wasn't yet healed and her vengeance wasn't yet complete. Part 4. Gaia and the Olympian gods. Mother of monsters. Ages passed. Cronus and the Titans ruled the cosmos, but their reign too was doomed. Just as Cronus overthrew Uranus, his own son Zeus rose against him. The Titanomachy erupted, a great war between the Titans and the young Olympian gods. A war that lasted 10 years and shook the foundations of the world. And whom did Zeus summon to his aid? The Cyclopes and Hecatoncheires, those very children of Gaia, whom Cronus, upon coming to power, had again imprisoned in Tartarus. Zeus freed them, and they repaid him with loyal service. The Cyclopes forged for Zeus thunders and lightning, for Poseidon a trident, for Hades a helmet of invisibility. And the Hecatoncheires, with their 100-handed might, crushed the Titans' armies. The Titans were defeated and cast into Tartarus. Zeus became the new king of the gods, and again Gaia might have rejoiced. After all, her children, the Cyclopes and Hecatoncheires, were free and honored. But Gaia didn't rejoice, because she saw in Zeus the same thing she saw in Uranus and Cronus, a tyrant ready to destroy her children for power. And when Zeus cast the Titans into the abyss of Tartarus, the ancient goddess again felt pain. These were her children, her firstborn, and they were suffering again. But this time, Gaia didn't gather a conspiracy. She didn't seek cunning. No. This time she decided to spawn such a monster that it would single-handedly crush all the Olympians. Gaia descended into Tartarus, into the deepest depths of the underworld. There she united with Tartarus itself, the embodiment of abyss and darkness. And from this union was born a creature whose name inspired terror even in gods: Typhon. Typhon wasn't simply large or strong. He was Apocalypse in physical form. His body towered to the very stars. Instead of fingers, he had dragon heads. 100 heads, each spewing flame and black smoke. From his eyes burst fire. His voice was so terrible that sometimes it sounded like a lion's roar, sometimes like the howling of dogs, sometimes like the hissing of serpents, and sometimes like thunderclaps shaking mountains. When Typhon rose to the surface and moved upon Olympus, even the gods trembled. According to some versions of the myth, the Olympians fled in panic to Egypt and there transformed into animals to hide. Hermes became an ibis, Apollo a raven, Artemis a cat, Dionysus a goat, Hera a cow. They were afraid, truly afraid. Only Zeus didn't flee. The Thunderer accepted the challenge. A battle began unlike any the cosmos had ever seen. Zeus hurled lightning bolts, and they heated earth and sea red hot. Typhon threw entire mountains, and they crumbled to dust. The monster's flames melted rocks. Thunder strikes split the sky. At one point, Typhon even gained the upper hand. According to one version of the myth, he coiled Zeus in serpentine rings, took away his sickle, and cut the sinews from the Thunderer's hands and feet. The helpless Zeus he threw into a cave, where he left him guarded by the dragon woman Delphine. It seemed all was finished. Olympus had fallen. Gaia had won. But Hermes and Pan, showing incredible cunning, stole back the sinews and returned them to Zeus. The Thunderer restored his strength and returned to battle with doubled fury. Recovering his might, Zeus unleashed upon Typhon the full fury of his lightning. The wounded monster fled, but Zeus pursued it across all the earth. The battle rolled through mountains and seas, and in the end, the Thunderer seized an entire mountain, Etna in Sicily, and brought it down upon Typhon, burying him under the incredible weight of stone. And to this day the Greeks told, Typhon lies beneath Etna, and when the volcano erupts, this is Typhon trying to break free, spewing fire and smoke from his dragon maws. Every earthquake in Sicily is the monster's attempt to throw the mountain off his back. Gaia was defeated in open war, but not broken in spirit. She spawned yet another monster, the dragon Python, who settled in Delphi and guarded Gaia's ancient oracle. But even him the young Apollo slew, who seized the oracle for himself. In honor of this victory were established the Pythian Games, second in importance after the Olympics. Gaia gave life to the dragon Ladon, who guarded the golden apples of the Hesperides. She spawned many other creatures that became part of Greek myths. Her daughter, Echidna, half woman, half serpent, from union with Typhon, produced an entire brood of monsters, the three-headed Chimera the three-headed dog Cerberus guarding the gates of Hades, the nine-headed Lernaean hydra, the Nemean lion with impenetrable hide, every monster with whom the great heroes of Greece fought, Heracles, Perseus, Bellerophon, somehow traced their lineage to Gaia. She wasn't merely mother of gods, she was the primordial mother of all monsters, all terrors, all trials, through which mortals and immortals passed. But with time Gaia's anger subsided. She remained the eternal foundation of the world, witness to the changing of ages. She was honored in sacred groves. Sacrifices were brought to her upon altars. Even Zeus, who defeated all her monsters, treated the ancient goddess with respect, because he knew one can defeat Gaia's children, but the earth itself cannot be defeated. She was, is, and will be eternal, unchanging, all-generating. Conclusion. So who was Gaia? Was she a kind, nurturing mother, or a vengeful creator of monsters? The answer? She was both simultaneously. Gaia embodies nature itself in all its contradictory duality. The earth gives us life, grows crops, provides shelter and food, but the earth also spawns earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, natural catastrophes. A mother can be tender and loving, but when her children are threatened, she becomes a furious defender, ready for anything. The ancient Greeks understood this duality perfectly. They saw in Gaia not just another goddess, but a fundamental principle of being, the very foundation of existence. She is the beginning of all beginnings, the Alpha of the cosmos. From her came the Titans, who established the first order in the universe. From her descended the Olympian gods through her daughter Rhea. She spawned monsters to challenge injustice and tyranny. Gaia's story is a story about how even the most ancient and powerful forces can suffer and feel pain. About how maternal love knows no bounds and can transform into destructive fury if children are made to suffer. About how the earth remembers everything, and every drop of spilled blood, every inflicted wound gives birth to something new. In our modern world, we often forget about our connection with the earth. We walk on asphalt, live in concrete buildings, buy food in supermarkets. But the ancient Greeks knew the truth. The earth is alive. She feels, she remembers, she can be a generous nurturer, but she can also take vengeance on those who offend her. Perhaps this is exactly why the myth of Gaia remains relevant thousands of years after Hesiod recorded it in his Theogony. It reminds us we walk upon the body of a goddess, and we ought to treat her with respect and gratitude. And now my question to you, dear viewers, do you think Gaia was right in rising against Uranus and Zeus, defending her children? Or did her vengeance go too far, spawning monsters that threatened the entire cosmos? Write your opinion in the comments. We're very interested to know your point of view. If you enjoyed this journey into the deepest depths of Greek mythology, like this video and subscribe to the Ancient Myths channel. Ahead of us await meetings with other gods, titans, heroes, and monsters. We'll tell you about Cronus, the devourer of children, about great Zeus, about the labors of Heracles, and much more. But for now, remember Gaia, the great mother of all that exists, the goddess who is older than the gods. See you in the next video.